Hello and good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Robinson and I'm head of Post 19 for Beyond Autism. So before we start, I just wanted to send through a few notes to you just to say that we have a few people joining us. So please feel free to drop your name and let us know where you're listening from in the chat. That'd be really helpful. The recording will be available at the end of the session, so we will be sending that via email after the event. And then also, as I go through the webinar with you, please do drop us some comments or questions in the chat function that I can then kind of address at the end of the session. So I hope this session will be helpful to you today. As a post-19 professional, these are a few of the things that I've kind of learned throughout my role, but also just kind of, coming from an education background with younger students, it's been really helpful to kind of look at how we support our learners with their life and their future plans. So let's make a start. So what are we going to be covering today is preparation for adulthood framework. How we communicate with our young people and create independence for them. And then also creative ways for learners to share their aspirations and views. And especially with EHCPs and annual reviews, I think this is a really important kind of topic for us to discuss. And then obviously number 4 is to also look at the EHCP outcomes and how that then supports an ideal week for our young people once they leave education and kind of get on with the rest of their lives. So let's make a start. Preparation for Adulthood framework. I'm sure many of you are aware of preparation for adulthood framework because of EHCPs and personalized and person-centered approach. So I've just kind of put the URL on there just if you need that. But they have also updated quite a lot of their resources over the last month. So I think at the end of March, there has been some new resources available on planning and writing good EHCP outcomes, just for those of you that are doing annual reviews. So the 5 main topics for preparation for adulthood is about using a personalized approach. So again, not thinking of our students as a group, but looking at their individual and personalized needs. And then also to develop a shared vision. So kind of not just what we do, but how we interact with parents, other professionals. So we've all got a shared and common vision for the students. And then also preparation for adulthood has also supported us to improve post-19 and post-16 options and the support that is available to our young people. And then also to raise aspirations. So with our annual reviews, it's definitely a lot more of a focus on learner voice. And then also, speaking to the young person and finding out what they really enjoy, what they like, and what they would like for the future, where at all possible. And then again, just because of this framework, that allows us then to kind of, as a group of services, to plan together. That is not just education setting things up and hoping that we can carry on until 25, but that we, with social care and parents and other professionals, can kind of put a program together that is suitable for the young person, that gives them purpose and gets them to achieve what they would like for the future. So the 4 pathways is employment, independent living, community inclusion, and then health. So those are the 4 areas. We at Post-19 at Beyond Autism, we kind of use these 4 pathways as part of our curriculum. So that'll be kind of across the week, we'll be kind of developing these skills in these areas for all of our students. So the next thing to talk about is communication and independence. So first of all, to be able to get students' views and their aspirations and to find out what they would like for the future, we need to identify what communication they have. So with us at Beyond Autism, we work closely with our therapies team to look at assessments and to find out what communication style the student has. It could be basic things from, if a young person is quite high functioning and very articulate, they can just tell us what they would like. And then if there are students that are struggling with communication, not being able to kind of verbally communicate that, but are able to put that down on paper, or perhaps maybe use technology, because I know a lot of our students do love laptops and iPads. So get them to write those views down, or even get them to cut and paste images from Google if that is something that they're able to do. Then potentially, if you've got students who aren't able to write or potentially use technology, get them to use symbols or pictures that you've kind of put together to be able to express their thoughts. So, these are things that I like, these are things that I don't like, and where they may or may not want to live in the future. And then for some of our learners, we're not able to get any of these kind of structures or strategies that is useful or effective for them. So that might just be by observations with the students. So it's, you observe the young person and you see that they really enjoy going swimming, or that they enjoy being within a group, or perhaps they like doing things in outdoors, so that they would much rather prefer to do things outside, maybe working on a farm. So that's just kind of some of the ideas. So to promote their independence is just by giving them the right amount of support. So again, this is personalized to the young person, and the support needs to be kind of differentiated according to the skill or the task that they're doing. So we've got a young man within one of our hubs who is an amazing cook. He loves going out to the shops, buying his ingredients and his recipes. He's able to chop, he's able to use an oven, but he's still working on using a cooker. So within that instance, with all of the tasks that he can independently do, we would give him the freedom to do that. But when it comes to using the cooker, we would have a tutor working alongside him, kind of supervising, making sure that he can do those skills, and then also teaching him kind of errorless learning. So kind of before he makes a mistake, that we kind of try and intervene and support him to do it in the correct manner. And then also just with independence, as part of post-19, a big topic for us is deprivation of liberty. So as much as we want to protect our vulnerable adults, we also need to give them the independence to be able to do things for themselves. As you would think of a neurotypical person, when we were younger, you would make loads of mistakes as an adolescent or a young adult, but people gave you the freedom to do that. So in that sense, we need to also do that with our learners. Give them the freedom to make some mistakes and know that that's okay, but that's the only way that they're also going to learn and be able to create independence for them. The next thing for us to look at is creative ways for learners to share their aspirations and views. So there's quite a few ways of doing it, but I thought I would start with kind of looking at how you could daily get their views and their aspirations, then to kind of looking at long-term up to where you get to annual review point, where you get those views and aspirations from them. So first of all, daily reflection and planners. We use these at post-19. So again, use a planner that you can kind of set up where the student has got some input into it, where they can say, this is the things that I've enjoyed, this is how I've reflected on what I've done today, what skills I've learned, maybe what things I could improve on. So that could then come at the end of the day, at the end of your last lesson, you can have 15 minutes time just to kind of reflect on what they've done, and just give them time to reflect and process what they've done for the day. And then also learners to be encouraged to communicate their likes, their dislikes, and what they could have done better. So kind of looking at their timetable for the day, deciding on, these lessons were really good, I really enjoyed them for these reasons. And then maybe saying, actually, I didn't like trampoline very much today. Why? Maybe because it was noisy, maybe because they forgot their socks. It could be different reasons for that, but it would be really good for you as a professional to know what those reasons are. And then if it is an activity that they really just don't like, you would then try and change that on the timetable so that they can then experience something else, leading on to having an ideal week later on. If the student is unable to articulate or present their reflection, staff and parents to comment on their observations. So again, with us, we have daily feedbacks to our parents, and a lot of our parents write back to us. So we've got really good communication, and it's lovely to kind of hear, a young person's gone out for the weekend, or they've celebrated a birthday with a family member, or they've gone away on holiday. And so we can then kind of comment on that with the students, say, we've heard that you've gone away for the weekend, how was it? And so it'd be really good if with parents that you can kind of have that dialogue. But also it's equally good for you to be able to give feedback to parents on a daily basis, so that they can then also have those same conversations at home, so that it's not just college is one place that I go to, but that you've also got other people sharing that. Apologies for the dog barking. Okay, so then the next thing is also planners. Apologies. Okay, so then the next thing is for planners. So they can be quite a thick little book, where you can have the cover page, you can have their morning and bedtime routine, and that might be that you have different um, routines for each student, or it might just be a general kind of, this is how you brush your teeth, this is a schedule for when you wake up in the morning, or this is the routine that you would use to before you go to bed. Then also you could have information for learners that aren't able to articulate what they've done throughout the day. Because I know that we've got some students with medical needs, so it's quite important for parents to know what they've eaten throughout the day, what they've learned, and then what they've enjoyed or want to improve on. And then also just to remember that you can also put in a weekly schedule, so their weekly timetable that is student friendly, and that also just helps parents to remember when they need to have their PE kit in or their swimming kit. And then also just some resources potentially for zones of regulation. So kind of, if I'm feeling sad, these are the things that I can do. I can go for a walk, I can talk to an adult. So maybe those resources would be useful for the home to be able to share that. Okay, so that was daily. So weekly, we have had quite a lot of success with our therapies team in starting up a weekly journal club. So learners take part in small groups to discuss tasks or lessons and activities of the week. So the learners are then able to perhaps take photographs during the lessons of things that they've done or that they've enjoyed. And then that kind of creates a visual support for them to engage, and then write potentially a short paragraph or maybe short phrases that they can kind of have in a booklet or in a exercise book. That's quite useful also for students, so that they can then reflect back on their week, or they can reflect back on their term, and they can tell you what they've enjoyed and what they haven't. And then also during this time, it's really good for students to identify their emotions, and also just the activities and comments on their preferences and dislikes. So the journal will enable the learner to build a story of their college or school journey, and provides good evidence for learning and future aspirations. So that is, it's a good tool to be able to look back on what they've enjoyed and what they haven't. So again, kind of supporting you to write your annual review reports and looking at their outcomes. Okay. Right. The next creative way to kind of look at sharing aspirations and views is student focus groups. So what we've done at Post-19 is we've kind of created weekly themes, and it will be related to current topics or news. So it might be St. George's Day coming up, it might be the Queen's Jubilee coming up, but we would have weekly focuses, whether it be Pancake Day, International Climate Change Day, Red Nose Day, but we would get the students involved in that. And so it's about them participating as a group on these topics. So making things, maybe sharing activities, or potentially kind of making things in social enterprise that they can then sell, and then that goes back to a charity. So again, kind of getting them involved to do things together, making them aware of things happening outside of college, in the world, and then also potentially getting them to look at charities and being able to support and kind of give back into society and the community. So also for the learners to choose from a range of creative and functional activities related to the topic and working alongside their peers. So with this, again, we give students a range of activities and options. So for some of them, they love cooking and they might want to do that, but for others, they're more creative. And so we'll kind of have creative activities, or for others, it might be that they can actually go out and go to a charity shop and go and support that cause. So it just depends on the students and their ability to do that, but also giving them the choice to make that decision. Then for learners to comment on the topic. So again, do they like the topic? What did they dislike about the topic? And what would they like to try next, or what would they like to do differently? So again, that gives you an idea of their skill set, activities that they like, so that you can build up a profile of the young person to be able to create their ideal week. And then student focus groups will feed into the 6 weekly talking mats to build a bigger picture of the learner's profile and preferences. So we'll move on to that next. So you've got your daily, weekly, and then we're looking at half-termly or 6 weekly talking mats. This is again an approach that we've taken from therapies, and so it has been developed from a research project by Joan Murphy in 1998. And it's become well-researched communication tool. So it involves a talking mat. So you could just have a mat or a laminated A3 sheet with Velcro on it. And then you get students to put things into categories. So you would have a symbol on the top, which is I like, or I dislike, or I don't know, or I'm unsure. And then you would give them a range of photographs or visuals or PEC symbols if they use those, and then they can kind of have a look. So for instance, if you're looking at social and leisure activities, you could look at swimming, horse riding, trampolining, going to the park, playing sports. So you can give those pictures and then get the students to kind of put them into those categories of whether they like them, don't like it, or if they're not sure. So again, with that, once they've completed that, you can take a photograph of that. So that's evidence for annual reviews. But most importantly, it will be also evidence for you to be able to kind of look back and think, okay, they didn't like going swimming. So what can we change? And what other activities can we put in place? So this is also just for students to be able to reflect on their half term from memory, and then also they can make notes on activities and kind of just give you some more ideas about things that they might have wanted to do differently. You could also get students who are very articulate, who could say to you, I didn't like something for these reasons, but can I try this? Or alternatively, you can give them options of 3 new activities to try. And then we've got creative ways. So kind of looking at the last step of how we can kind of get learner views across. So for aspirations and their views. And we have created a learner voice or a student views booklet for our learners for each annual review. And these are the topics that we kind of have put into it. So how do I communicate? So again, this is to share with professionals at the annual review, but you can also use this as a tool to send to any new professionals joining the team to be able to communicate with the students. So how do I communicate? Do I use PECs? Do I verbally communicate? Do I use handwriting? Do I use technology? Do I use gestures? So that'd be really important for people to know. And then things that make me happy or unhappy. Again, you can kind of have 2 sets of of forms for that. So one would be that you could have loads of symbols on a page or pictures that they could just circle of these are the things that make me happy, that they've kind of explored, that they've experienced. Or and then they could maybe do that in a color of maybe green, because that makes them happy. And then things that make them unhappy could maybe be in an orange, where they kind of circle the things that they didn't like or that they don't, that makes them feel unhappy. And then things that I like doing at college. So again, you can kind of list all of your activities on a page, and then they can just circle the things that they like. Or alternatively, if you've got students who are very good at communicating and able to write, you can just write these sentences down for them, and they can then write it down themselves. Then you've got leisure and social activities again, whether it be, going to the park, trampolining, swimming, perhaps doing group activities, reading a book with a peer. So there could be a range of activities for that. I have got a resource available if you'd like that. So you can just drop me an email at the end of the session and I can get that to you. But then there's also things about what they can do for themselves. So this is really important, especially for social care. Once they kind of leave education, they need to kind of be able to do an assessment. But it's really helpful to have this tool so that they already know what the student can and can't do. And then again, with work skills or the future work skills, to look at skills that they have gained through work experience or perhaps with social enterprise within a college or school setting. Those things would be really good to kind of put down again, just from a local authority perspective, to see the skills that they've learned, and then also for social care, so they know kind of what ability the student's at. And then also for the future, to look at future jobs. So as I was saying earlier, it might be that a young person enjoys being outdoors more than indoors, working on their own rather than working in a group. Maybe they're very extroverted and love working with others and engaging and interacting with others. So it'd be really good to know what kind of jobs they would like. So again, looking at what they've maybe done in work experience, have they worked in retail? Have they worked in an office space? Have they worked in a warehouse? What things have they engaged with and really enjoyed? And then things that they would like to do for the future. So this could be questions around, where do you want to live? Do you want to live on your own? Do you want to live with friends? Would you like to have a job? Would you like to stay at home? Would you like to go on holidays? Would you like to get married? Would you like to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? So these questions are also really important for students to be able to answer. Some of these topics might be a little bit abstract for some of our students, but again, some teaching can be done within a college setting to support their understanding in that. So once we've got all of the aspirations and their views, that makes EHCP outcome writing a lot easier. So again, allow your learners to communicate their views, give them a voice, because quite often I know, we're always pressured in time and trying to get everything done quickly, but it is about giving them the time to have a voice. And their views and aspirations need to be included in a transdisciplinary meeting or perhaps in an annual review. Their views and aspirations need to be recorded in a format to allow them the capacity to answer. So again, if you've got a young person who is very articulate, able to write, they can just write things really easily down for you. But if it's a young person who has difficulties or barriers to that, then you would need to be able to create resources that they can use to communicate their views. And then obviously we have got some learners who struggle with that. And so we do that through observation. We may actually, as part of their student views, actually take loads of photographs of them doing different activities and then share that with them while they're in the annual review, and share that with the network and the other professionals. And then EHCP outcomes need to be relevant, realistic, and achievable for the learner. We have had many EHCP outcomes come through to us, but they potentially 4 years old. But so just kind of making sure that you keep updating the outcomes so that they are relevant and realistic and achievable for the learner, so that you kind of working on the right sets of skills that they want to gain, creating the right resources, and putting together a good weekly timetable for them. And then lastly, once you've had your EHCP outcomes written, hopefully that's been approved by local authority and agreed, you are then able to put together an ideal week. So it is reliant on resources, obviously a lot of planning because it's all personalised. So for instance, booking activities, job coaches arranging work experience, and also having staff to support them out in the community. So for us as Post-19, our model is very reliant on one-to-one support for our learners to be able to have personalised timetables and being able to fulfil their ideal week. So consideration needs to be given if activities can be arranged in their local community. So this is not kind of, because for us for Post-19, we've got about 15 different local authorities that we work with across London. So it's very difficult to kind of just have it within the hub's location, but we need to work on getting our students to be in their own home kind of local community. So we do a lot of work around that, supporting our learners to get into their home community, to be a part of their community and society, get used to their buses, their leisure activities, facilities that they have, because once they leave us at Post-19, they will be going back into their home community and be expected to have an ideal week program there. And then also the ideal week should aim for all students to ensure they live a purposeful, happy and safe life into adulthood. So that is kind of one of our main aims as Post-19 at Beyond Autism, is for our students to be able to have an ideal week where they're in their local community, where they are able to get out of bed in the morning and say, yes, I'm ready for my day. I'm happy to be doing swimming, or maybe going into a job as part of supported employment. But to be able to give them a program and a schedule that they are able to carry on for the rest of their lives. And that also kind of just supports, placement breakdown, and it also keeps students active in their community, and it also educates society in supporting our young people, because they've got so much to give. So considering all of that, I think that's the end of my talk. I am just going to give you my details. So if you've got any questions regarding the PowerPoint, or you would like some more resources, please just drop me an email. And then we'll start with questions. So I just want to have a look and see on our chat who we've got. So the first question is, how do you balance the student having an ideal week with the fact that sometimes you do have stuff that's essential but not fun? So washing up and not just eating. Oh, that's a very good question. So yes, we've got a lot of students who do that. They love eating, but they don't like the washing up or kind of setting things up. So there is a balance. I think it is very important for students to be able to have those things in place, because life is not just about all the things that you enjoy, but also sometimes things that you don't enjoy but have to do to get to the end results. So for a lot of our students, we do use token boards for them, and potentially for some of our students that might be actually, once you've done cooking, the next activity should be motivating enough for them to say, okay, let's quickly wash this up, and then we can start with the next thing. So I think having motivating activities throughout your day would be also supporting that. I hope that's answered the question for you. And the next question, what happens when a young person is not going to be able to have a job? Thinking realistically, what happens to that pathway? Do they still have to work on employment topics? Can they continue to work on academics, e.g. learning vocabulary, writing and reading skills? So yes, within our curriculum, we ensure that we kind of have literacy, numeracy and also computing or IT across our curriculum, so they're getting those skills. But for some of our students, employment is not an option. So what we do is we still have them do social enterprise. So there is still some work skills involved, some teamwork, maybe working as part of a team and kind of having identified roles. That still kind of gives them the skills to be able to work together. Because if a student's not realistically going to go into employment, most likely they will be going into a social care setting, potentially a day centre, and they would have to have these skills working with other people and working alongside peers. And I think that's the last question. So if there's no further questions, please do feel free to email me if you've got anything else. If you need some of the resources that I've mentioned, please do drop me an email and I can get those sent through to you. So just to let you know, so the next session we have is on Wednesday, the 25th of May, which is about opening doors into employment for autistic individuals with Emily Ross, our specialist vocational advisor here at Beyond Autism. So please do kind of, sign up for that. That would be a really interesting talk about the next steps of employment and how we do that for our young people. Then we've also got our professionals conference coming up in May for its second year. So please do click in the banner to find out more about the event. And then also all of these sessions that we're running are free of charge. So if you would like to support the work that we do and help us to create more content like this, please visit our website to make a donation. So there's many ways you can kind of do that. And then also just please do send us an email, with the feedback. We will be sending you an email with the recording, and then there'll also be a link to give us feedback. So please do let us know, because we'd like to improve our offering of these sessions. And then lastly, just thank you so much for everyone for coming, and we hope to see you at next month's session. So I hope you have a good day. Take care. Bye.